Welcome to Unscripted. God damn it. No. All right. Redo.
No,
or,
keep
no
going,
leave it
keep
in.
going. Yeah.
Welcome to
going.
Unscripted Gaming. My name is
Mike.
Josh.
Hi.
Hi, Mike. And
Ray.
Ray is here. But as always with our Game of the Year discussions, I guess. By the way, it's our Game of the Year podcast. Who knew? Who knew? Given his stature at a incredible mobile gaming
Megacorp.
clicker agency,
He prefers the term
he will
Megacorp.
not be.
Wow!
Excuse
Wow!
me.
There's so much to unpack right there.
He will not be joining our deliberations. He will just be here to throw in the occasional snide remark and produce this wonderful audio podcast hitting your ear holes. So
Can I add a real quick production note before you go on? This might be our last episode for a couple months because we're going to relaunch the channel later in 2018 under a different title. But while I have to do some things with real life, I already told what Josh and Mike is. It's nothing bad. It's nothing super awful. It's actually kind of cool. But that'll require us to go on a hiatus for I don't know, 3-4 months.
it's gonna be a little busy.
Yes. Now we're still gonna upload new game videos.
Yes, there will be
podcasts.
content hitting the pages. You know, Mike may upload some Creed Got Robs during that time. You know, there will be things happening. Just Unscripted Gaming as the podcast may be taking a little break while we do some life and production stuff behind the scenes before we relaunch with some hard hitting shit in your ears and in your
Definitely
face.
panic about it.
And Josh knows what not to do for the new channel. Don't you, Josh?
I will only make clicker content. That's what you're referring to, right?
Actually, I wouldn't mind that if you have good background audio. That sounds kind of funny. Anyways, please continue. That's it. Admin
Well.
done.
This being our Game of the Year podcast, here's kind of the outline. We've got a couple superlative categories we're going to rock through. Then I think Josh and I, then we're going to kick off we're just going to go back and forth, give our personal top fives, and then we are going to give out I already forgot the name of the award. Let me just remember it here. We're going to. I'm stalling.
Come on.
As I remember,
There's a lovely acronym. Come on, you can do it.
Where is
I
it?
believe
I
in
can
you.
find it here soon. Boy, 2017. What a time for games. Just incredible.
Good thing we have a producer for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
The NAGATT, the not as good as Tap Tycoonies.
The not as good as Tap Tycoon Award for the Game of the Year. It has parentheses, but still pretty good. But to win the not as good as Tap Tycoon is a great honor, and I think Josh and I will briefly pick
It's really just an honor to be nominated.
It's an honor to be nominated for the not as good as Tap Tycoon. Based on our top fives, I think there will likely be a game that we will be able to agree upon being bestowed the not as good as Tap Tycoon. But I get ahead of ourselves. We have much ground to cover
2017.
before
Yeah.
we give out the illustrious not
That
as
we
good
do.
as Tap Tycoon.
Do you want
a question real quick?
Oh, Ray.
Josh, do you actually still play Tap Tycoon?
I am reformed. I did play a little bit of Tap Titans 2.
Oh yeah, there is a 2.
Yeah, they came out with a second one, and then when that came out, Tap Tycoon went to shit a little bit. So, but I realized recently that I still have money in Tap Tycoon, so I was like, I could just pop in to see what's been going on. What's the harm in that?
Did you spend money on a clicker game?
For our
No.
first category, tonight, we are starting off we're gonna get a little fun here. We're gonna start with the fun category. We're calling this one the Milkshake Duck of the Year. For those who do not know, a milkshake duck was coined by Twitter user PixelatedBoat in 2016. When he basically the gist is that the internet loves a milkshake duck, a duck that drinks milkshakes. 5 minutes later, we regret to inform you that the duck is racist. And tragically, there are several milkshake ducks that occurred within the gaming world this year. Some are a bit more less of a true milkshake duck than others, but I wanted to get Josh's opinion on them, as I believe they're very important to in reference to our Game of the Year discussion. So, Josh, let me tell you about the first of our milkshake duck contestants here. So, okay, so
Wait, there are contestants.
yes.
You guys didn't
So
pick
the
them out?
first one I'd like to tell you about is a game called The Last Night. If you would like to Google that, I would recommend you do so. It is a really cool cyberpunky looking game that was shown off at E3 this year. Has some really cool art, looks really great, just looked really, really cool and really neat. However, as soon as that, people saw this trailer, they're like, wow, we gotta get to know the guy who made this game. And let me tell you about the co-creator of this game. His name is Tim Sorrett, and he has some pretty interesting tweets. Mostly joking about how, let me see here. He says that the Last Night takes place in a cyberpunk world where modern feminism won instead of egalitarianism.
Oh.
Around the same time, he claimed the game would show, quote, the dangers of extreme progressivism, and inquired about the possibility of using Gamergate mascot Vivian James in the game. So, just wanna put that out there.
Okay.
Contender number
Good
2,
contender.
a game called A Hat in Time. Cherished, a platformer that people were really excited about. Has some cute art. Guy actually has pretty good reviews. Our Hat in Time moment,
10
or
out of 10
our
on Steam.
milkshake duck here, comes from learning that JonTron, YouTube's favorite white supremacist, if it has some pretty significant voice acting within the game. Obviously that's he can act and stuff like that, but it's just when your game has someone who says things that JonTron says, like, let me just find a couple of examples here. My internet is going very slow. Arguing that black people are more prone to be criminals than white. Arguing that the Women's March is something that's incredibly sexist. Just kind of usual. Basically blaming refugees for violence. Just the lots of good stuff just good stuff you want in your game. Our next milkshake duck is a bit of a different turn here. Thanks to intrepid reporter Ben Pack at GiantBomb.com, some historical footage of Super Mario World was reviewed, and everybody loves Mario. Great guy, real. He's just been a real gaming icon. It turns out all these years when he's been relying on Yoshi to help get through these levels, in order for Yoshi to eat fruit. Yes,
Are
I'm
you
very
serious?
serious.
He's been
He
punching
has
that guy
to,
in
he
the
is
head.
physically hitting Yoshi to make the tongue come out. He's not like, "Hiya, go Yoshi, yeah." He is striking him. That was confirmed.
I've known this since I was 12. It's the pixels are obvious.
Raymond, are you finished? Our fourth milkshake duck. This is the least milkshake ducky of them in that it's not a, "Oh, this guy's kind of cool." Oh no, this is a bit of a slow burn, a real thick milkshake, if you will. It's just the true shittiness of the true slow burn shittiness of Notch. Basically, beloved creator of
Just like the category
of Minecraft. Everybody likes Minecraft. One of the biggest games of all time, literally. But it's a little bit. He is no longer associated with Minecraft in no way. Partly because he says things like, "Anybody who doesn't believe in heterosexual Pride Day is a sexist and a hateful person." Likes to say things like hashtag it's okay to be white, and more just. I think again, this is not truly new, a new milkshake duck here, but someone literally made a literally made a Minecraft bot that blocks him on Twitter for you. As in, it's something you can add to Minecraft, put your Twitter account information in, and then the contraption within Minecraft will block Notch for you. So I just thought that was that's kind of why it got on here. Also, I needed a fourth one to fill out the category. So, Josh, what do you think is our milkshake duck of the year? The Last Night, A Hat in Time, Mario hitting Yoshi, or the slow burn shittiness of Notch?
That's a good one. Not where I thought you were gonna leave one off of here, but there's plenty of time for this other thing that I was thinking of to shine. So, that's a good question. I think I'm gonna have to go with number one.
I think that's what I picked too. In that it's just hilarious. It definitely has the most whiplash. Because if you look up the trailer for this game, The Last Night, it looks so cool. I love the style of it. But then you just read about what this guy has said, and you're just like, man, this guy is such a dirtbag. Oh my god, that's so bad. Oh, damn it.
And that's, that really just kind of goes back to, a general discussion we've been having, and I think really, especially in 2017, of the difficulties in enjoying a piece of art from somebody who does shitty things or says shitty things.
The heavy burden of being woke.
Especially when the person says that their dystopian sci-fi game is a result of progressivism and feminism. That fuck you. Just fuck you.
This category is not exactly what I intended. I thought it would be.
Well, surprise! That's part of the magic of Game of the Year.
There's a reason Mike left the actual
details
thing
out.
crossed out. So
That's maybe what happened. But hey, when it comes to these are the subversive tactics you have to do to stick it to the SJWs. Okay, that's what you have to do. Our next category.
Well, I think after that, I gotta have a drink.
On here. I'll briefly introduce our next category. This one's a little bit more traditional. We are going to talk about the game, just some of our games that have the most graphics.
Much graphics.
And basically,
many numbers of polygons, or not polygons. Think about it. Think about it.
The most graphics here, and basically what I think what we should talk about here is just a couple of the games this year that either just were gorgeous fundamentally or had really cool design, and just some of our favorite visual, most graphic-y games that we enjoyed this year. So Josh, what are some of your most graphic-y games of the year?
Well, my most graphics, I've had a really tough time. Most of the categories you gave me, I was able to pick one specific thing with a few runners up, but this one has been really tough. I think because this year we have not only been granted with so many good games, but we've been also inundated with so many different visual styles and things that are beautiful for different reasons. So this one was really tough, but there were three that I picked for this year, things that I thought needed to be discussed. And I'll go ahead and just list them, and then I can give some background into why I picked it. And those are Cuphead, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, and Destiny 2. Now, I think Cuphead, if I had to pick a winner for this category, for me personally, that's my winner, because this style of that game is just unlike anything any of us have ever seen before. We've all seen pretty skyboxes, we've all seen gorgeous environments, but we've never seen something that looks exactly like a 1920s cartoon in video game form, animating and looking the way that it does. So fluid, so fresh, having that whole aesthetic, the way they just nail that look and feel of the old Steamboat Willie cartoon era. It's
mind-boggling. It's something I never thought. I mean, I just we first saw kind of video of that, I'm like, how is that going to translate into an actual game and still be fun? But I mean, the art, I think it's still the game is still it's really stylistic and really beautiful, and just it must have taken a crazy amount of work. I mean, all games do, obviously, but the fact that the style is so true to that style without sacrificing or getting in the way of the game, which still feels really tight, is truly remarkable. Because I've played games that don't feel that tight, that have a way more simple art style. So it's clear that they not only were super dedicated in living up to that style and making it look true to form, but also making sure that it serves the underlying game well.
Yeah, and it's one of those games that I felt compelled to show people who don't play games that game.
Definitely.
That was something where I was like, you need to see this, because it's just so unreal that they were able to do this. So I just made sure that people saw that game. The other game, Breath of the Wild, Destiny 2, those are gorgeous games, but I'm not rushing to tell my wife or people who don't play games yo, you gotta see this. The other two I think are a little easier to talk about. Destiny 2, that's just a technically impressive game. Bungie makes really good environments, and while I have a lot to say about Destiny, I will say all of those areas, all of those worlds feel unique, and they have their own aesthetic that I really like. And I found myself a couple times just stopping and admiring the environments, admiring the skyboxes. Later in the game, when you get on the sun, there's just some incredible imagery and scenery in that game, and it's just gorgeous to look at.
That's definitely one I would have mentioned too, just because the environmental design is so cool, and it's really varied from from the stuff on IO, which looks really different from the stuff you see with the expansion, with the stuff on Mercury, which is really different from the Cabal stuff, which looks really different from the Raid, which is a completely different aesthetic. And just all the the character designs are pretty cool, but just the environments are just so drop dead gorgeous. Like like you said, I seriously would just stop and just look at that. Just look at that. Like, it's really cool, and it's something that is like I've played a lot of that game, and it's something that I like 70, probably like maybe 80 hours in, probably at this point, maybe more. It still just does not. It still just never stops being super duper cool.
Yep, I would absolutely agree with that. And then lastly, I said Zelda Breath of the Wild. That's just one of those things where that world and that environment and that art style just complement each other so well. And it's another example of Nintendo being really good at extracting every last bit out of their hardware. We all know that the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch are not the most powerful consoles, but they still manage to create these really lush, full, lived-in environments that are just gorgeous to be in and look at, and it really makes you want to explore that world. I don't think the exploration and the side stuff in Breath of the Wild would be nearly as impactful if those environments in that world wasn't so beautiful and engaging and able to draw your attention and draw your time and wanting you to do more with it. So that's my most graphics category for this year.
After double checking here, I think the one game I would want to add to our most graphics category, let me see here. I guess the one that really stood out to me, I think it was Horizon. Just on like a raw technical level, I kind of bounced off the game. It didn't crack my top 10. Hey, I can talk about my list whenever I want. Don't interrupt, producer. Darn it. But since I mentioned it, Zelda, I think Zelda does really good what Horizon does very poorly, and so for playing Zelda just made me look at Horizon really differently. And just changed how what is probably fine, just felt so constricting after Zelda. But just technically, Horizon is just one of the most drop-dead gorgeous games I've ever seen. Like, it's the kind of thing that just makes you forget that, like, wait, how is it possible that this image is being produced? Like, how does that happen? Like, what are the things that they're doing to make this look this good? Like, it's clear that Guerrilla has a very innate understanding of like the PlayStation hardware, because it is like the stuff that what they're able to get that thing to do is just absolutely mind-boggling. And this is coming from someone who doesn't. I don't play it. I don't have an HDR TV, and I hear that this game is also just makes mind-numbing use of the HDR tech as well, with like lighting and stuff like that. So just as another kind of raw technological like achievement, I think it is visually. I think it definitely has at least like 7 graphics,
maybe even 8. And honestly, I would echo what you said, and I would honestly put that on my list. The only reason I didn't is because I don't have a PlayStation 4 and I didn't actually play that game myself. But I mean, I've seen so many screenshots and videos and stuff of that game, and every single time I see it, I really want to play that game. I just blown away by the way that thing looks.
Definitely.
It's incredible.
And
yeah.
So I think that kind of wraps up our most graphics category. We talked about a lot of different graphics. But like you said, I think if we had to pick a winner, I think Cuphead would still Like, Cuphead is just mind-boggling. It is wild.
Yeah.
Our next category is a pretty broad one here. It's our best what moment. Basically, there's a lot of things that happened in games this year that made me go, what? So we're dedicating an award, I guess mostly for narrative, but honestly also like personal experience too, that we might want to shout out here too. So Josh, why don't you tell me about some of your favorite moments of this year?
Yeah. I will say we forgot to kind of preface this, but there may be some spoilers here and there. Obviously, we are talking about our games of the year, and this is a category where we're really gonna potentially spoil some stuff. But we will try and do our best to not make it too egregious. But mine are gonna be tough not to. When I read this category, I had a really hard time not just writing Wolfenstein 2. Because I felt like every hour or so of gameplay, I had to alt-tab away from the game and immediately message Mike and Ray or basically anybody else I know who plays games, because something happened that just blew my fucking mind.
Wait. I still want to play that game. Keep
why don't you just take your headphones off for 5 minutes and we'll hurry up.
Yeah, good call. So very broad strokes, I boiled it down to Venus.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. It is a scene where a lot of that game really kind of reaches a point where you really start to get a sense of just the sheer scope of where this game is going and where it is gonna go in the future.
It kind of the Venus stuff definitely comes after like the turning point of the game, when it kind of is like semi-serious, like sober in terms of tone, and it has gone just full pulp off the rails. Like it's a really cool kind of transition. And I think a lot of things in this scene, which I just, I'm just gonna warn Ray when editing this part. Basically, your character is auditioning to play himself in a movie being directed by none other than Hitler himself, who's like 80 years old at the time, and you encounter Hitler at this audition on a space station in Venus. And it definitely gets a lot to like kind of the parts of the underlying message of the game, where like how, as Hitler is, because he's an old decrepit guy, he's like, he literally just pulls out a bucket and just starts peeing in front of everyone, and it's like kind of gross and weird. But then you think about it and you're like, well, this guy's, it's kind of a allegory of like how Nazism moved into America, and how a lot of people were okay with it, which is like the big point of this game. Like
well, and it just goes to show to, it's this thought experiment on this guy now rules the world essentially. He's running everything, and in his old age, after all of his drug use and his rise and the struggle to gain power, how paranoid he is, how delusional he is, but also just how he can do whatever he wants. He literally pulls out a weapon and ices two of the actors there to audition for the part, and nobody bats an eye or does anything about it or says anything, because he's Hitler. He runs the world. He may be sickly, he may be delusional, he may be deranged, he may be crazy, but it's the cult of personality around him that you don't say anything about it, and you put on a smile and you say, good job, mein Führer,
Yeah,
and you
and
move on.
it's a really great summary to show just like, bad things can, if you enable someone, you'll be responsible for really bad stuff and really shitty things. Ray, we are still going. We'll
give it
just
the thumbs up.
Let's see what other
But
also,
I mean,
it's
and
extra spicy because
there are
Ronald Reagan
lots
was
of
one
other
those
moments.
actors, which is really
Got
spicy and real
blasted. Yeah, and there are more moments like that littered throughout the game, but I think that's one of the big ones that you can point to and just say like, one, holy shit, they went there. Two, that moment after some of the other moments where things have kind of gotten positive, to go to this and see basically the culmination of the enemy that you've been fighting this entire time, beyond Death Head and Frau Engel, like the real enemy, and the person who allows those two crazy fuckheads to be who they are. Just it's incredible. Plus,
it just really drives home how
keep thinking
evil
about that.
enabling is, which is something that is
Yes.
we didn't think would be really relevant, but here we are. I mean, that I think is
2017.
one of the big points, is just like everyone's just okay with it, and even despite how on the face disgusting it is. But yeah, Wolfenstein.
Are you ready for yours?
For what? Yeah. Right. Yes.
Can we bring
Ray
our
can come
producer
back.
back in?
Okay.
We actually talked about the game shot for shot, so you're gonna have to just take your headphones off while you're editing
Yeah, it'll
this
be alright.
podcast. So you're welcome.
We'll figure it out.
Also, our producer is
Uh-oh.
muted right now, so but I won't tell him.
I know that what timestamp it was. I got these sticky pads.
Nice.
With the proper producer.
Nice.
job.
Now that's a producer.
Yeah, taking that shit seriously.
I think one of my moments of the year. I have a lot of little ones, like the first time you saw like one of the dragons in Breath of the Wild, that was super cool, and just a serious like, the fuck is that? What? It's one of the few times like in a game, because I had absolutely no idea that something like that was gonna show up, and part of the reason why I really liked Zelda was just because it kind of the way it like recaptured like mystery and like true like adventure. It recaptured it in a way that just was so cool, and I just want to like seeing one of those like big dragons just come crashing out of like the lake like right in front of you was super cool, and just added so much like mystery to the world, and it was super fun. I think probably my standout moment of the year is the very end of a game called Nier Automata. I can talk about it pretty generally, but there are some the way it drives home the larger idea, because the existential philosophy is the key of Nier Automata, and the game very much is very much of that, and not in a way where it's just like ranting it at you, but how it bakes it into the game and into the music and the environment is just really cool. And the credits, or I guess the end sequence of the game, just does the way it ties all of that in together, and how it's like a summation of this kind of bummer of a journey that your characters have gone on, and how it asks you to like create meaning in like the absurd life, as it's like referred to classically, and like what it means for, quote, the human condition, unquote, is just super cool and is just really damn inspiring. And I don't think it's something I will ever forget. It's something that is like truly, truly memorable, and just because it's the game. I don't want to say the game is depressing, but it's profoundly, it's dark in a lot of ways, and the final sequence is such a change in that it's so drastic and so just incredible. And what you are asked to sacrifice in order to get there is something not a lot of games ask of you, and it feels so right and good to do it that it's an easy choice to make, and it's man, it's really something. And that's all I'm gonna say, because my main man Ray is still working on that one. So also there's
I just started Route B today, and if I can ad lib, I took like 2 months off after completing Route A, and I messaged Mike, and I was like, I don't get it. I don't get why everyone's saying like this is Game of the Year material. It's all right. It's okay. But as I'm playing through Route B, I'm starting to see like, Route B is when it kind of starts. Okay.
When it starts getting a little like interesting. Like, did you notice when you were setting up your options, the options menu thing? Like that's when it starts doing weird
that was
stuff.
a really cool part where I was like, Yoko Taro, you sly son of a bitch!
Yeah, like that's also
cool.
like one of my low key things, because like, Josh, I have a minor Nier spoiler for you. Is that okay? So when you on the first route, because the game starts with like you play the first playthrough as this one character, and in the second chapter of the game, you go through the same part of the story from the perspective of that character's partner. And in the first part of the game, like you go through the options menu to get set up with your controls and camera and sound and whatever. And so you don't really think of anything of it. But in the second part of the game, when from the other perspective, that character was guiding you through the options menu. It took a recording of you going through the options menu, as the original character, and plays that back from the perspective of the new character in chapter 2. Because you're like, why is these movements like so familiar, or like so kind of, you recognize your own movements through the menu, and it's just something that's like, it's just a really weird, like, and something they probably didn't need to do, but they do, and it's like, that's kind of when you start realizing things are kind of up and are weird, and it's just
interesting.
Yeah, it's just real
that part
cool.
Was cool. That was a cool part. It even paused at the part where I was setting my options, where it asked you like, do you want to turn on self-destruct? And I literally stopped inputting commands, and I cheated and looked online. I was like, motherfucker, do I want to input self-destruct or not?
Well, that way you can blow yourself up on the space station again.
And I accidentally got ending G. Yoko Taro, you
hey,
motherfucker.
we were just running experiments, okay?
Look at what ending G is.
But yeah, I think my true
ad-lib.
like big what moment of the year is the ending of Nier, just because it's just really damn special, and that's kind of what I got there. Anything else you want to add, Josh?
Yeah, and this one was one that I just kind of like thought of sitting here, and I was like, oh shit, that would be really bad if we missed it. But the Nintendo Switch, specifically, the whole docking and undocking, and how that actually works.
Can we talk about those menu sounds too?
I think they're good. It's okay, especially when you have you have it undocked and you have to unlock it, and it goes what, and you press the button 3 times. Fucking
man.
great.
Wait, what? I'm sorry. What?
Okay.
What happens?
Take it undocked.
Yeah.
Like, and wake it from sleep, and it says press the button like 3 times, and you do it, and it goes like wah. There's like this sound that it makes when you press the button 3 times. It's fucking.
There's some
It's
good
too good.
sounds.
It's too good.
Good sounds.
Yeah. But I think there were some of us here who were cautiously optimistic, and others who said it was going to be a giant failure. Don't know who I could be referencing, but I don't think.
Listen, all right, hold on a second. Listen here, motherfucker. No. Give me a second. This is the same guy that said, and I quote, VR is the future, and you're a fucking idiot if you don't believe it.
There's
How's it
still
playing
time
out for
on
you,
that.
by the way?
No.
There's still time. They're making new headsets. They're
I
making
have
smaller
on
headsets.
3 separate podcasts, 3 said I was wrong. The Switch is one of the best systems to ever release.
Well, I'm just reminding the good people that, you know, I don't think any of us could have really, even in our most optimistic, foreseen just how incredible the Switch actually was and how quickly it would catch on and how much love it would receive. And I think that's one of those things that pretty much every Switch owner who has opened their Switch and started playing it and tested everything out that they said just went, fuck, I gotta tell people about this. This thing is incredible. So yeah, that's my last what moment from 2017.
I have one, if I can add one.
Ooh, yes please.
I have one because it really doesn't impact anything.
Yeah.
The song festival in Mario Odyssey. There's never been a moment in video gaming in the last 10 years that has 20 years. I'm gonna go back 20 years. The last time I had this moment that made me feel just profound love for the video game industry was when you use Omnislash as your final attack on Sephiroth. That was such a good moment. I had like good dreams about it for a week.
The Omnislash.
Oh, the Omnislash.
Yeah,
on
I dreamed
Sephiroth
about
was just-
suplexing. I dreamed about suplexing a train for a month.
Why not? But that music festival in Mario Odyssey, I'm not gonna spoil what it is, and anyone that
I just
played
started playing Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, that's a
Okay,
really
I'm not
good.
gonna
That's a
spoil
really good one
anything
too.
about it, but there's a music festival, and that part the entire time I
Yeah,
was
it's really
smiling
just
ear to
like
ear and said,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
just
did it
pure
again.
joy. It's super. It's just that game is such a damn treat, man.
Yeah, that was my all right. The games are back. Games never left, but Jesus, they're back.
All
now.
right.
All right, that's it.
Storming
Can you hear
on
us
to
out
our
here,
next
fam?
category, the most fuego mixtape of the year. This normally would be a category about best music, but I had an ulterior motive here in that I wanted to introduce a best music category so I could bitch to the uneducated and unlearned people out there about why they're wrong about the Breath of the Wild soundtrack and score. And I would like a platform to do that, so I created this award. Let me tell y'all why it's okay for this Zelda game to sound different from other Zelda games. Breath of the Wild has...
Please, Mike, inform me.
Nintendo referred to this game as an open-air adventure. And part of this game is just... It's... The special moments of Breath of the Wild to me aren't the big encounters. I mean, they're fun moments. But it's the moments of you just like traveling, from, like exploring the landscape, you know, just sailing or riding your horse peacefully across like the mountaintop, like across like the high plains, cooking, or just exploring the environment and like poking around. And it's a really solid, it's almost like a solitary kind of game in a lot of ways, at least compared to like past Zeldas. And so to imagine if you just basically copy paste the music from the Ocarina of Time directly onto Breath of the Wild, it absolutely does not fit that game at all. And it would make that game just, it would be unbearable if there was just an because you spend so much time in like the world that like an overworld theme would be so just, it would just be, you don't want that. You don't understand how oppressive that would be. Yes, I'm talking, you know who you are. I'm talking to you. It would just be so oppressive. So I think just the piano, the strings, and just the subdued instrumentation, it just lends itself so well to to what it's so reflective of what you're seeing on the screen, and it's so evocative of those like peaceful kind of environments that it's so refreshing compared to like the just the cacophony of Hyrule Field and like Ocarina of Time. I just think it is it doesn't have the most music, but it uses it so well because it understands it saves music for impactful moments, like when you're talking to Zelda, or when you're fighting a boss, or when you get to like a town, and it just lets the environment breathe and just work.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are very reductive when they say that the limited scope of Breath of the Wild soundtrack detracts from the game. And I think they really don't, like you said, understand just how much thought went into those decisions. It wasn't just haphazardly done. Like, all of that was very calculated and thought about, and they were very deliberate with their use of music, where it is, how it is structured, what it goes to, and how vast and empty and open the overworld feels, and how some of the stuff you don't have this grand soundtrack because you're just traversing this empty and broken world. So it really wouldn't fit to have some chipper tune as you're running around trying to gather your memories and go to face.
But people are barbarians, and they don't understand that. So we need to teach them and learn them, because they do not understand.
Yes. Sometimes less is more, and subtlety is very important. That's all I'm gonna say about that. So yeah, I agree with you. That is a very good contender for most music.
It is, this is the exact opposite of most music. That is why I came up with a name besides most music. Because again, this was just a Trojan horse to bitch about people who don't understand why the Zelda music is actually, Breath of the Wild score is actually good. And they're wrong.
Well, I want to make.
I knew this was the route you were.
Another admin note. I had no idea Mike was going to add this category. I'm again being blindsided.
Well, I saw in the doc what you were going for, and I had a feeling this was the rant you were going to have. But I prepared something completely different, and my award this year goes to Cuphead once again. That is just some incredible jazz music,
Cuphead's
an incredible soundtrack. That opening title sequence, it like with the barbershop-y sound to it, which everybody knows who knows me knows I am a sucker for barbershop music.
I think I knew that. I think I definitely forgot that like 5 years ago, but
yeah, you did.
Fuck, that's
the grainy vinyl tubey sound that they've got to everything. Like, it sounds like it was really recorded on 1920s equipment. Like, it has that crackle to it. Oh,
real good.
It's so good. Sometimes I just throw that soundtrack on because
The level, like
Damn, it's
the
fucking
level
good.
victory, the stage victory music is so good. They're just some really good, as they call them in the business,
Yeah.
licks. They're good licks.
yeah.
Parting shot on that
that
music category.
so.
The music in Nier is super duper good.
Shut up about
I
Nier.
agree.
What?
Yeah, the music in Nier is it's something to behold. It doesn't work, in my opinion, as well when you're outside of the game.
It's
But
so
when you're
good.
in the game, it just kind of clicks together like a bunch of gear.
Pascal's Village slaps. Slaps.
I mean,
It slaps,
yeah.
Ray.
Okay,
That's
yeah, I
it.
see that.
Discussion over. Our next category.
Games that slap.
Well, more like PR fuck-ups that slap. Because this category is called, quote, there was an attempt, unquote. And basically, I intended this category for us to talk about the worst, parentheses, best, fuck-ups across all boards this year. Because there are a lot of them in gaming, because that's how gaming is.
Yeah.
So, Josh, what do you think? What was the worst, best fuck up this year?
Ray had a question real quick. What was?
once you guys are done, I actually want to add to this because the worst fuck-ups in gaming affect me directly. Please go ahead.
Getting less of those clicker transactions, huh?
Fuck you.
Yo! Nice.
Tap revenue is down. We're only making 52 AD dollars a day when we were making 87 BB dollars a day.
Tap faster, monkeys.
I know this reference. I played this game.
Quick, cook spaghetti and drop it on your iPhone.
When you get kicked from the clan for not tapping fast enough.
Dude. You don't fuck around with the clan.
Wait, what?
Because
Oh,
China's gonna
sorry.
win if you're not
2017
careful.
threw me for a loop there. Sorry.
Don't forget the weekly war.
America never loses that.
No,
the-
no, they don't.
That's the
They
best part.
never
It's
lose.
just how it's like, oh look, it's good to know that America's imperialism extends to fucking clicker games. It's really good.
It's not like they win by a little. They win by 5 score
Yep.
over the next guy.
Can I also just say, somehow, almost an hour into this podcast, I have yet once again derailed us into a Tap Tycoon discussion.
Motherfucker.
Josh, we're not even giving out the almost as good as Tap Tycoon-y. We're not even there yet.
I know. I've got one more opportunity at
Or they're
least
not as good as
to
Tap
do this.
Tycoon.
So,
Not almost as good. Sorry.
I apologize
Fuck
for
up of
bumping
the
into
year.
my microphone and creating a blah, 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 blah. Well, besides me just bashing into my microphone, I had 2 for this category, and it might not be 100% what you're going for, and it might not be what you're
Lay it on me.
expecting. Also, because when I did this, I kind of changed some things on the fly. First for me, there was an attempt, was Ghost Recon Wildlands. There was an attempt there. There was an attempt there to make a not bland, not boring, not shitty military squad-based shooter with witty bands.
Baby makes 3.
There was an attempt there. They tried. They earnestly tried.
I love this category.
This is absolutely not what I was expecting, but it really is very good. Okay, boys, we're gonna try to make a fun game that's fun to play by yourself, but also fun to play with friends. And definitely, our characters don't sound like jackasses. And definitely, there isn't like weird jingoism. And and it's fun to drive around. Oh no,
Yeah.
boss, we did
in
the
an
exact
era
opposite.
in an era where in an era where the drug war is really starting to kind of like weigh on people, and the whole, you know, America imperializing over a second world country, you know, to act as judge, jury, and executioner, you know, is maybe a little bit of a gray area. Let's get fucking 4 meatheads to go and do exactly that and say really bad quips and one-liners at each other through very generic environments.
What is like, so there's like
Yeah.
tone deaf. What is like beyond tone deaf? Is there something like other? What's the difference? Is there something between like intentional shitty propaganda and tone deaf? Is there something in between that? Because that's like where Wildlands. That's that tiny sliver is where Wildlands operates. There's the itty bitty bitty bitty.
Yeah, it's not quite one or the other. And honestly, it would probably be better if it were one or the other, but
America's Army, Wildlands.
like you could forgive it if it were you could forgive it if it was like blatant recruitment material or a blatant like actual tongue-in-cheek discussion of that symptom of America and American imperialism, but it's neither, and it's there was an attempt there and it was bad.
Yeah, because oh, sorry.
My
just one last thing for Wildlands is
sorry, no, you've finished your thought.
Because it wants to have this like tactical military shooter kind of feel, which it kind of because I actually picked it up on sale because I'm a monster, and
I know you did, and I thought about it too, and I was like, no, I can't do.
Hey, well, if you ever pick it up sometime, let me know. See, the problem is that like it's not tactical enough. Like if the game isn't like challenging enough for you to feel really good being tactical, but it also doesn't have good enough open world jank. So it really just kind of falls in this like kind of middle ground. It just feels weird. As you said, Josh, there was an attempt.
Yeah, like the vehicles are not good enough to react to the environment well, but they're not bad enough to react poorly in a hilarious way. So it just does really shitty things, and you're like, oh, fuck, this was bad. But yeah, America.
Fuck you.
My number 2 might surprise you guys. It's Metroid: Samus Returns.
Ooh,
That doesn't
spicy.
Wait. Question: Did you beat the game?
Not yet. I can't bring myself to finish it. I try, and I'm chipping away at it, but never have I felt the need to just sit down and power through.
I feel you 900% having beaten that game 100%, so I never have to play it again.
I like what they're going for. I admit that the game has problems. I am not just saying this because of AM2R and looking at a more faithful recreation of the original game. I'm not. These AM2R and Samus Returns are separate. A lot of it has to do with the goddamn 3DS and how they structure the game on that console. And in a year where the Switch launched, to put this fast-paced action platformer on a handheld console with a terrible joystick and no way to remap the controls just makes me look at it and see what could have been. Even if they'd just let you remap the controls and let me use the joystick for the things that they make me use the D-pad for, and let me use the D-pad to move around. Because honestly, the movement isn't that fucking precise that you have to have
Mr. Fizime does not find that
acceptable. It's not. Fuck them.
If only you had bought more Wii U's, then maybe your request would have been reconsidered, Josh. How tragic.
Yeah, Metroid Samus Returns on the new 3DS with its current configuration just makes me look at and think about what could have been if they had made a few different design decisions or put it on the Switch. And that there was an attempt there, and it wasn't necessarily a bad one, but it could have been better. It could have been better.
So I like the direction you've taken this category, because there's one very obvious fuck up that we kind of have to talk about. But there's a more personal quote. There was an attempt, unquote. It's called Mike Gets Into Fighting Games, and one of my favorite games this year was Injustice 2. I loved the story mode. I really like all the treatment of the DC like universe characters. It just feels really cool to see like the ridiculous supers of like Flash running someone through time and punching him into like the Sphinx and stuff like that. Like all that stuff is really cool, and I was getting pretty decent against the AI. And I was like, okay, you know, I got my guy. I know his combo. I know my combos. I know how to like stick to what, you know. I know where my bread is buttered here with Dr. Fate. Let me try this online button and see how it goes. Yeah. About a match or two in, I got a hit on somebody. That was a big win for me. I touched somebody once. It was a big win for me. It's just, man, people are really good at fighting games, guys. It's really bad. It's bad out there, man. It really sucks because I want to like fighting games. And I know that's, you know, how you get to Carnegie Hall is by getting your ass clowned by people who are way better than you constantly forever. But damn, it sucks. It sucks so bad.
So are you saying like the matchmaking in the game is bad? Because it should have matched you with noobs just like you.
Yeah,
that's how
there
bad
are
Mike
no
is.
noobs like me.
Oh, damn!
Noobs like me.
Damn.
But yeah, I mean, because I played a little bit more, and I think I got a better read on like where I was. I got to some better matches, but those first few are just like, it really just throws you into the lions. Then, man, it's real bad. Because it just, man, I ain't never seen someone combo with Black Canary like that one person did. It was real bad. So that's my there was an attempt with that Dragon Ball Z fighting game coming out that I pretty much have to buy because it looks amazing. We're gonna have an update on this, but
that's been PC, right? I think right here, all Unscripted Gaming can agree. I think we should all purchase that. Throw up some content.
That idea. That's a good idea.
If it comes to PC, yeah, sure.
We'll double check that. I think it's. We'll double check that. Either way,
you keep talking.
You guys keep going.
You keep talking. I will fact check.
On a more global kind of fuck up is I think we definitely have to talk about the hilarity that was the Battlefront 2 launch and just the
Can we please?
Like, I mean, there's been a lot has already been said about this, but it is just hilarious that like it's really, I mean, there was an attempt because there was an attempt here because, you know, okay, we're getting rid of the season pass. No one liked that. We're adding a campaign. We're getting more stuff in it. And I was like, yeah, these are the kinds of things. This is good. Okay. The kind of canary.
We're not gonna have paid DLC.
Yeah. The canary in the coal mine here was people seeing Shadow of War and be like, oh wow, this game is infected with loot boxes and is real bad. Also, I'm glad that people were like, sidebar on Shadow of War. I'm glad that people were like, isn't it kind of weird to like subjugate an entire race of people to like take over a country? I mean, I know it's Lord of the Rings, but isn't that kind of weird? I'm kind of glad people were like thinking about that. I don't know. It does when you think about it. I'm like, that's a little okay. Anyways, sidebar.
Fuck orcs.
Bright now on Netflix. Come watch it.
No, you're. Fuck orcs.
But
Mike,
God.
orcs aren't people.
It's. You know what? It's okay.
Don't open that can of worms.
thing.
Even
It's
I'll say no
okay
people.
for things that aren't people to have access to the same rights. Get over it. Anyways,
Is this before or after the
so
orcs try to kill
Battlefront
everyone?
2 comes. Well, people get to the the whole timeline. People realize that when the beta comes out, how like loot box ridden this thing is, and it's not just like even at this point, like even just saying it's just cosmetic is like kind of wearing thin because cosmetics are part of the game and it's an important part of progression. But Battlefront was very much explicitly if you buy more boxes or blind boxes, you're gonna have a very tangible advantage above other people.
You're going to have a
And they're like, okay, we're reducing the prices on Darth Vader and whatever. So they like would reduce the price on like the special characters, but then also basically cut by 95% your rate of like getting currency. So effectively it was the same. And then just like the weird it was just, I think this might be fuck up of the year. In that it's really just many, like if you look very closely, if you put the situation under a microscope, while it appears to just be one giant fuck up, it's actually like hundreds of micro fuck ups just occurring so quickly and rapidly over like a month that it's truly just unprecedented in video game fuck ups, and it's just really something to behold. Just incredible. Good job, EA. Did great. Go see Star Wars.
Yeah, so this was actually my winner for Milkshake Duck until I realized what that category was going to be and why.
Right?
Everybody loves Star Wars. We regret to inform you that Star Wars is stealing your money and Luke Skywalker is mean.
I mean, we're talking about stuff so bad that legislation has been introduced and lawmakers have been talking about regulation. Like, we're talking about practices so predatory and so blatant after they said, we're not going to release paid DLC, so people are very excited and looking forward to it, and they're bringing back space combat, and they're like, oh my god, we might get the actual Battlefront 2 that we were hoping for, and then just a big old middle finger came out. You open up the game
just a
case,
real
and
roller
then just
coaster,
pow, right there. Yeah, and I know some of it is attached to Disney and the rules that come with a Star Wars franchise and a Star Wars game that takes place during the canonical movies. But that doesn't mean they couldn't have found a way, besides cosmetics, to bring in microtransactions and to bring in additional revenue that didn't affect the game and the gameplay so much that players who put money in would get such an advantage that everybody else would just be like, well, fuck this, I'm out, I can't do anything, or I'm gonna throw money in because I can't play this goddamn game I spent $60, $80, $120 for without putting in even more money.
Enough said. That was a big fuck up.
Fuck EA this year.
Can I talk about that on like a serious level?
Yes.
As someone on the inside.
Yeah.
No one outside of EA, and I'm sure there are people who are in EA, agree that anything done in that action was the correct course of action for your consumers, your respect for players, and just the naked greed of it all. Like, there was no fundamental belief in your game design when a simple complaint on Reddit blows up and someone finds out, hey, it's gonna take 40 hours of me being someone that paid $60 this game to unlock Darth motherfucking Vader in this game. someone comes out and says, you know what, boom, we're gonna reduce his cost by 75%. How about that? Does that make you happy? That tells me, well, why are you reducing it by that much? That means you didn't believe in what the economic cost of it was originally. You knew that it was kind of shady. When someone makes a Reddit post that says, like, how come I can actually buy power? Or my favorite YouTube video, it's called Pay to Boba. It shows a guy playing a stock Boba Fett, and then he says, you guys have the star cards, but no one's more powerful than, and he shows a little graphic, the credit card, and it shows him just pay for a bunch of boxes, and he's just going 17-1 games in like hero-on-hero battles. Yeah, and he's yelling at people over the mic, haha, you should have paid the boba. When
I'm in love with the boba.
When someone posts that video on, once again, your fan-based subreddit, it says, look, there are people paying, and this is proof that they're paying for power, and you're already $60 premium game. Long story short, it took Disney calling EA to say, stop. Everything you're doing, you are destroying the Star Wars brand by this game. And that's the only thing that got EA to remove this system. There's this rumor, this weird rumor that has been perpetuated for a long time in the video game industry. And it's that some games need these loot boxes and microtransactions to exist as a business. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, because EA said it themselves, and I really don't feel I'm in jeopardy saying this. EA does not depend on loot boxes in the Star Wars to make a profit. That was for pure greed, pure money. That's the only reason they did it. And EA released a financial report back in like early November that said that the lack of loot boxes does not impact our end-of-year earnings. Motherfucker, why'd you do it then?
That, I mean, because I think game development costs have certainly gone up over time. But I imagine if you compare that versus, you know, with a lot of other companies, the pay rate of certain executive officers of said companies, imagine you'd see a slightly different trend in that it's, you know, more of like a like through the roof kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
we are in an era where shareholder return is just more and more the focus, and everything you can do to increase that number, regardless of if you're turning a profit. What if you'd returned more of a profit and gave even more money back to your shareholders? That, you know, that's pretty much where we're at right now.
It wasn't even just like EA's making a game, they need to make money. It is a Star Wars first-person shooter. The money was there, just made by DICE. I don't know if you guys know my love of Battlefield 2142, God rest its soul. All you have to do is just release the game, and the
Titans,
billions
man.
of dollars was there.
Oh, I'm so mad now.
Listen, Titans.
I wasn't as mad as I was before.
Did you know EA also canceled that 2142 revival project where it was fan-run servers of 2142? Just dagger through my heart, EA. just take everything I love away. Why don't you? Take away Star Wars.
We just want to play your games. God damn it! Let us do that.
But Josh, you brought up an excellent point. Same to you, Mike. It's not just having some money. It's trying to have all of the money. You can't just be satisfied with what you're obviously going to get as a return on investment. Why not increase that return on investment?
Yeah, guys.
5,000 times?
What if? Hear me out. I know we have a lot of money, but what if we had more money?
And someone slams their fist on the table. You're a genius.
God damn it! How do we do that?
And this impacts my
Get
job.
this man a raise.
In my job, and I've mentioned before, there's several games I work on that have free-to-play elements. And this whole thing with the loot boxes opens Pandora's box in a way that people in the video game industry have been trying to avoid for at least the better part of half a decade. And it's that, guys, we don't want to make this like really shady. We don't want to do this scummy. Let's just make it cosmetic. Let's make it so like, okay, maybe it's a free-to-play game. You don't have to pay, which everyone's kind of cool with. maybe it's that you get something in the boxes that enhances progression, but doesn't make you more powerful or mess with the matchmaker or something. But EA says, no, whole hog, what if we just bought power? What if you bought something that just made your gun shoot better, made your ships fly faster, and made your characters actually stronger than the people that didn't pay? What if we just did that?
Hey kid, you want to be Darth Vader? Yeah, I know you do. What if you just like slip me $5 and I'll let you be Darth Vader in like 5 matches? Come on, just slide me a 5 and I'll give you Darth Vader for like 5 or 6 matches. It'll be great. It'll be great.
Was a big fuck up.
It wasn't great.
That is the I don't just consider it the fuck up of 2017. That might be the fuck up of
the
decade.
Fallout. This is gonna have a long
last
tail,
time?
so it'll be fun to watch.
We should unless Josh had more. Actually,
I have one more superlative. If we want to do that before our we maybe take a break and then do our top 5s. How's that sound? Okay, our final superlative category. As you know, I'm a big fan of the video game series known as Destiny. And one of the hallmarks of Destiny is the really dumb gun names that Destiny has. Including such favorites as, from Destiny 1, Dr. Nope, Universal Remote, Grim Citizen 3, Super Good Advice, Bad Juju, let's see, Invisible Hand M7, The Devil You Know, Zombie Apocalypse WF47, and Super Pox VLO. So there are a lot of really dumb Destiny gun names. So I thought we'd take a little break from our intense debate on superlatives and games to take some games, mash up some titles from 2017 games, and make our own, and see if we can come up with some really good dumb Destiny gun names.
Oh, I didn't understand the instructions. I made just a Destiny gun name without using games from 2017, but I think it's a really good Destiny gun, and it might trigger Mike, so I want to hear him. It's the Egg Beater's Delight Mark Roman numeral 8. And it's not numeral, it's numeral.
Can you run that back one more time?
Wow.
It is the Egg Beater's Delight Mark Roman numeral 8.
This category is actually bad. I shouldn't have done this. This is my greatest. There was an
there was an attempt.
That's really bad.
Oh, you actually spelled out the word numeral? That's the best part.
Man, that's really bad. Fuck.
This came to me like 4 hours ago, and I had to write it down because I was like, no, this is too good because it is a fucking Destiny gun. Boom. It would also work in Borderlands, but Destiny especially.
I love that you actually spelled out Roman numeral.
That's
literally
really bad.
is the best part.
A couple of ones off the top of my head. Super Mario Injustice. Let's see here. Yeah, it's just you can really make some really good ones.
Cuphead Destiny.
Doom 2. Oh, wait, that's like a real game.
Yeah. Yes.
Breath of the Snipper Clips.
Okay, all right.
Wolfenstein Within 2.
Okay.
Evil Breath of the Wild.
Ooh. We'll work on that. Workshop that one.
Yeah. A
The
robot.
Disney
named Mario.
Afternoon Automata.
I'd play the fuck out of that. That sounds like some Kingdom Hearts shit right
Persona,
now.
Persona 5
Or
2.
Wildlands.
Wait a minute.
Injustice Snake
I
Pass.
can see, like, in a Square Enix world that exists. Persona 5 2, I'm in love with that one.
Oh wait, I just.
Oh my goodness.
Let me see here. Oh, there's another good one I had somewhere here. 1-2 Injustice.
Oh, wow, I forgot 1-2 Switch was a game.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, if I was participating, that would be my there was an attempt.
Oh, I got a good one. ARMS.
Wait, can you get that to me one more time?
ARMS.
Fuck. Damn it.
That's a good
Player
one.
Unknown's Kingdom Hearts
That
HD
works in so
2.5
many ways.
remix.
Yeah? As a
Well,
third
I
party,
think,
Yeah,
Uh,
Josh is really killing it here.
He's just whipping them out.
I'm really good at making Destiny guns.
Call me.
Bungie, at me, Metroid Man 1352. Slide into my DMs. Let's talk. I'll help you out. Next
Project
expansion, I got
Project
you, baby.
FIFA Steam World.
Hit me up. Well,
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not
Well,
gonna do
hey.
that one.
Well, that was a fun category. I think the Egg Beaters Delight
Yeah,
MK
that was
Roman
good.
numeral 8 is. That's really something. That's really special. I think it's a fusion rifle. I think that's probably what that is.
yep.
Yeah, it looks like it
Yeah, it's a
definitely
power
looks like
weapon. It's a
I can
fusion
I'm
rifle.
writing I'll write the lore tab for it right now. Oh yeah,
Put that in
baby.
the grimoire.
Which you can only access on Bungie.com.
Well, I think we're going to take a short break. We may break this into 2 podcasts. You can cut this part out, right? And then this is kind of the sausage being made. But yeah, we're gonna take a short break and then come back with our top 5 games
And the not as
of
good as Tap
the
Tycoon.
years. So stay tuned. Yes, and the not as good as Tap Tycoon of 2017. So stay tuned to Unscripted Gaming for more.
Hello, and welcome back to Unscripted Gaming's Game of the Year podcast extravaganza.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
You know, it's Mike, Josh, it's Ray. You know the deal. This is part 2.
You know
We're
who it
back.
is.
You know what it do.
Cracking
We
both
just
PRs.
kind of worked through our superlative section. So now we're going to get down to the steak and potatoes here of the
Potatoes.
Game of the Year discussion. And
Reminders,
We're-
spoilers may come up. We will try and avoid overly aggressive ones, but it may be a part of the discussion, so fair warning right up front.
you have been warned. So, this part of the podcast, Josh and I are gonna dive into our top 5 games of the year. I think before we do that, we should send some quick shout outs to any honorable mentions that are not in the immediate top 5 of it that you'd like to say a piece about if you don't think it'll be talked about any further.
For me, Super Mario Odyssey, I just picked it up right after Christmas, so I have not had enough time to really get into the game. I've played like 30 minutes of it. I cannot rank it in this list of games, especially if we're only doing the top 5. So, Ray, stop giving me that fucking look.
I'm giving him a hard look.
I
ladies
have
and
a
gentlemen.
feeling it could knock a game or two off of this list if I had time to play it, but I just haven't. I really like the look of it so far and the characters that they have introduced. I really, really, really enjoyed putting a mustache on a big ass T-Rex. That was super fun. So I really look forward to playing that game, and I think that, you know, if we were to do a old game of 2017 and 2018, that game would be pretty high on the list. Also, Evil Within 2, I have really enjoyed that game. I have not been super into the horror genre as much as I would like to in the last few years, and that game has been a lot of fun. I have not put as much time into it as I would like, just with life and other games taking over that spot, but what I have played of it, I've really enjoyed. I've enjoyed that world, that environment, that story, and that is a game I definitely plan to finish in the next couple weeks, but it did not make my top 5. It is in my top 10, but not my top 5.
Cool. Some of my honorable mentions I would like to shout out. The first one I want to definitely shout out is HQ Trivia. Coming in at free Scott. This is a game. It's like
Abby
it's the
from Brooklyn.
free trivia. It's the free trivia game that you play on your phone. It's every day at 3 and 9. And ever since like I first got onto it, like I've been really sad when I miss a game each day. Just like the chat is awful. I mean, it's good, but it's very bad. In that good bad way that the internet is. It's just fun trivia. Scott is really energetic and quirky and memorable. And it's just a really cool idea that's really fun. I mean, over the holidays, I was showing it to my family, and we were all having a blast doing it together. And so it's just something that's I've really enjoyed, and has been one of my favorite kind of gaming moments this year. Let me see here. Another one I want to shout out is Injustice 2, a little higher on my top 10. Again, I kind of mentioned it earlier. I just loved the treatment of the DC universe. It's kind of helping me get more into like serious fighting, like, you know, traditional fighting games. I love the characters. I loved the story mode. Was super duper. Was a blast. Another one I wanted to mention was Snipper Clips. Just it's kind of a really adorable puzzle game on the Switch, and was something I've kind of used to show off the Switch with like friends and family in ways that have been really fun and for like really approachable for people who don't play a lot of games to latch on and try and have a lot of fun with. That I've really enjoyed.
And it's a real good opportunity to show off the capabilities of the Switch and being able
Yes.
to undock the console, set it up, taking the controller and turning it into two. You know, that was a really good showcase for the Nintendo Switch really early on.
Definitely. And then my final honorable mention is for Heat Signature, which is it's kind of a Miami, like Hotline Miami combined with like the life of Han Solo kind of game, and just has enough kind of blanks in the storytelling for you to kind of fill in with your own imagination in ways that are really fun. And you're like hijacking ships, and it's like, okay, I have like 5 seconds to get off the ship. Can I like blow a hole in this gas can to like blow up this half of the ship, and send it off course and get sucked out into space, and kind of planning all those things and watching things kind of go unintentionally awry is just really fun, and and some of the updates that they made to the game are really great too. So that's another one I've really enjoyed. And I think for my honorable mentions, I think that's kind of it. So I think we should get into our top fives here. Oh wait, sorry, I've something came across my desk here. It would seem that my partner, my wife, Sarah, she has actually given me her top 5 games of the year, and requested that they be read here. Okay, are you sure? Okay.
I'm gonna take a drink of water so I'm prepared for a spit take.
Okay. The Sarah's the fifth number 5 on her top 5 games of the year is the Luncheon Kingdom from Super Mario Odyssey.
Wait a minute.
Number 4 on the list is the Wooded Kingdom from Super Mario Odyssey.
I'm sensing a theme.
Number 3 is the Sand Kingdom from Super Mario Odyssey.
The theme is confirmed.
Number 2, it seems to be the New Donk City from Super Mario Odyssey.
Realizing where we're going, I'm actually shocked that's only number 2.
And number 1 is kind of a shocker here, is Super Mario Odyssey. So
never mind.
Yeah, so I just thank you for sharing the diverse list of games there, Sarah. Thank you very much for sharing that.
Not as good as my Game of the Year 2016 bit, but good bit.
Yep,
Also, I think it's also implicit that Super Mario Odyssey was also tied for all of those positions simultaneously, I think.
I see. I appreciate how the individual pieces were separate games, which I'm not going to argue with because that's just the type of game Super Mario Odyssey is.
Well, now that that's out of the way, Josh, what would you like to start us off with number 5?
My number 5 game of the year is Cuphead. That, if you go back and you listen to what I was talking about with some of the stuff with the art and the music in the first part, you really get a sense of my feelings for this game. It's just one of those things that came out of left field. Granted, 3 years, 2 or 3 years ago at E3 when they announced it, but even still, there was always that. There's
the fact that they nailed it in the way that they did.
There's no way they can actually do what they are saying they are going to do with this game, with this art style, with this music, with this aesthetic. There's no way. But for them to come out with a game that nails that so completely, and while being incredibly challenging and difficult, is super fun to play, even when you're bashing your head against the wall 1,000 times because you're really bad at the game and you don't have the time to devote to getting good at it because you're getting old and your timing is shit now. It was still such an incredible experience and something I very much enjoyed, just being in that world and soaking up everything that they created for that. I cannot believe that this game exists. I cannot believe it's as good as it is, and the time that I've had with it has been incredibly fun and incredibly charming, and something I've wanted to share with people, which is not something I usually have with games. There are games I want to share with other gamers. There are very few games that I want to share with everybody, and Cuphead has been that game this year, and it has been incredible. So that is why it's my number 5.
Yeah, I think just one quick note on one thing I really love about, I think is a really smart like game decision about Cuphead, is that every time you die on a boss, because the game is largely just a set of different boss fights. There are a couple of other levels, but the main meat of the game is the boss fights. This game does a really smart thing that even though if you don't beat the boss, it doesn't just show you like, haha, you lose. It shows you like how far along the boss fight you got. So even if you're not defeating the boss, it's still very tangible about the progress you're making.
Yeah.
And I think that in a game where it's like where defeating a boss is a binary yes no, I think that adding that extra wrinkle of like tangible progress really, because that game gets tough, and adding that in I think is a really smart decision. In keeping you going and making like, oh, I can make it just a little farther, and then all of a sudden you're there, and I think that's really smart. So for my my number 5 belongs to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and we've talked a lot about this game throughout the year, and I haven't played much. Recently, I want to check out some of the 1.0 update and more of that new map that's out. But this game was, I was never really into the whole DayZ, King of the Kill, like kind of sphere of games. Like it just never seemed like my cup of tea. But for this game to take those experiences and put it in a digestible and approachable way, was really cool, and I mean we've had some great moments playing that game this year. I've loved I love how the game is so smart about sound and how it'll be so quiet at times, but then you start hearing like gunfire rattling off in the distance and like the kind of narrative that conveys in a match, and then just like the raw like pure gaming joy of coming in first place out of like 100 other people or 50 other teams or 49 other teams and getting that chicken dinner was one of my favorite moments this year, and it was just super duper fun. So and I think they've done a pretty decent job like patching it and adding new features and mechanics. So I'm really excited to see what the future of that game is and where that game goes from here.
Yeah, and it's really exciting that they have actually officially released the game. They've added a new map. They have added new features, and that game continues to evolve and be the phenomenon that it is. But yeah, that's they'll come up again later in the list of giving some stuff away there. So shall we move on to number 4s?
Go ahead.
My number 4 is an indie game made by one person. It is a robot named Fight. I've talked about this quite a bit on the various podcasts over the years since this game has released. It is a 2D platformer. It is a Metroid-like, as they like to describe it. It is a Metroidvania-style game, but it's also a roguelike. It is run-based, so you have one life, and when you die, you go back to the beginning. It's a pretty incredible game. There are so many various nods and winks and homages to Metroid and Super Metroid in this game. The character very much looks like Samus. A lot of the jumping and the movement and the sounds are very evocative of Metroid, but it has this randomization and run-based nature to it that really, I think Mike said this, it's just one of those combinations that just seems so made in heaven. It's very surprising that we really haven't seen anything like this before. It's been a pretty incredible experience, especially in a year where while we got the Metroid game that we have been so deprived of for a while, I find myself playing this game more, thinking about this game more, and wanting to go back to this game more, far more than I ever do Metroid Samus Returns this year. So I solidly and confidently put a robot named Fight into my top 4 spot.
You got your Metroid in my roguelike.
You got your roguelike in my Metroid.
Oh, no. Now what are we gonna do?
Wait.
Oh, no.
Wait a minute.
Well,
As Ray face palms.
let me open up my phone to remember what my number 4 is. My number 4 is
It was so impactful.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Good game,
Breath
good
of the
game.
Wild, I really wasn't really sure what to expect of Breath of the Wild. I really like it. I really like it when Zelda games kind of go out, kind of take risks and do things that kind of change up the formula. So with all the news that this was going to be a pretty big departure, generally had me pretty excited. And I mean, like we talked about it earlier a bit in some of our best moments and stuff, but just the sense of adventure in this game, like adventure is such like a hard thing to like capture in a game, like adventure in the sense of like childlike wonder and like curiosity is something that like I haven't, like this game captured in a way that I haven't felt in I'm old enough to say this now, in like a decade. And just the way it's designed to be like, you go across a hill and then you do a shrine and you're like, oh wait, what's that over there? And just the way you're always like constantly just getting off into tangents and exploring and all like just the charm with the characters you meet, and the music when it is used is wonderful. And it's just a joy just to like go in that world, plop down some waypoint across the map of somewhere you want to get, and then just let yourself get distracted along the way. And it was just a I haven't played. I'm excited for the future of Zelda in a way I wasn't in a way I don't think I've ever been before. Like now that they've kind of broken out of this like the traditional Zelda mold, I'm really curious to see like where they go from here with Zelda, just because this entry was so different, but just was so incredibly successful in achieving what it set out to do. That would be my number 4.
Yeah, I'll have more to say later. Yet again.
Josh, well, what is your number 3?
My number 3 game of the year is Plunkbat. There.
He still calls it that.
My preferred
PlayerUnknown's
nomenclature
PUBG.
for the game is Plunkbat, and there's nothing you can do to get me to change it because I like it better. But there's not much more that I can really say that Mike didn't already say. Echoing a lot of the same sentiments of a game that truly surprised me this year. Game that I did not expect to play, was not on my radar, obviously. I don't think it was really on anybody's radar. And a game that on paper both very much sounds like my kind of game and very much doesn't sound like my kind of game. The whole being of a DayZ and survival game mod.
Josh does not like mods.
I do not,
not a
like
fan.
mods. I do not like mods. I also don't like very long, trudging survival games, when you're on your own and you're collecting resources and you're crafting, and then some dude fucking ganks you from a mile away because he's been playing this game for 18 months now straight and he's way better at you, and then all your progress is eliminated and you go back to the beginning. I'm a dad. I don't have that kind of fucking time anymore. God damn it. So, to hear about this game...
Jeez. Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, it's one of those things on paper. I'll be like, a younger me in middle school playing on my
Back
PS2,
in your SOCOM days.
Yeah, back in my SOCOM days would have been all about, but I just don't have that kind of time or that patience anymore. So to tell me that you've got this new game in this genre and this mold from this lineage is another eye roll. Like, oh, well, there sounds like a neat game that I'm not gonna play, but it does it in just the right ways that captures some of that essence, with some of that SOCOM feel, with some of that beauty of isolation and real cooperation that so few games really capture these days. And I just had way more fun with it than I could. Had some of the most heart-pounding moments that I've ever had in a video game, or even in my, outside of that. There are very few times that I can think of, besides like real vigorous exercise, where I have been that nervous, that excited, that pumped, besides the birth of my daughter.
Nice. Good save.
Good cover. But yeah, it was a truly surprising and incredible game, despite the jank. I'm so glad that this game has come out this year, and I look forward to see what it does over the next few years. So that is why Plunkbat is my number 3.
Awesome. My number 3 is to the displeasure of my wife. It is Super Mario Odyssey. In that it is not higher. But I loved this game just because it takes the core just mechanics of a 3D Mario platformer. It's as those on a base level, those mechanics are as just solid and feel as good as ever. It's all the platforming tricks you can do, and like with a hat, and just all the fundamentals of it feel really good. So all the core fundamentals, the great music, the great arts, the great graphics, like what Nintendo is able to pull out of the Switch and what they're able to do, like in design wise, to make that game look the way it does is incredible. All the music is just wonderful, and going with the music, like taking all the core Mario stuff and then putting him in just these wild ass environments like New Donk City, which has real like human people, but there's like little 2-foot Mario 3-foot Mario running around, and it raises like very many like striking metaphysical questions about the Mario universe as we know it, because I had assumed Mario was human, but I don't think he is. So is he just like a baby? I don't know. But just all like the different weird environments they put you in, and like all the stuff with like the taking on different forms and all the things that they can do gameplay wise with that is all like fun and unique. It's the successor to Super Mario 64 that is. It is so good in so many different ways. It has so many great moments, and just the core. It has so much like weird stuff going on in a really good way, but none of that stuff ever detracts from like the core platforming being just super duper fun. And that is why it is my number 3 game of the year. So Josh, hit us with the number 2.
Number 2, the dose. It is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. That is my number 2 game of the year. Again, there isn't much that I can really say beyond what Mike already said. Being the first game that I played on the Switch, being the Zelda game that it is after the last few entries in the series, to
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Skyward Sword.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo took a lot of risk with this game, and on paper, when they pitched it as like basically Zelda, but if Skyrim, like there's a part of that where you look and you go, there's no way that Nintendo can pull this off. There's no way that they can make this compelling. There's no way that they can make this simple enough to get a grasp on quickly. Like there's just no way for it to come out and be the masterpiece that it is, to be so utterly engrossing, having the wonderful and rich environment and places and people, being as sparsely populated as it really is, to both have that feeling of connection to the space and the utter aloneness that you can feel at sometimes. It's a really hard balance to find, and Nintendo somehow did it in a medium where I did not really feel that they would ever truly be that bold again. With one of their tentpole franchises, it's hard to take that level of risk and that level of redefinement of a franchise, and they did it, and they did it in such an unbelievable way that Zelda Breath of the Wild is my number 2 game.
Beautiful. Just as a preface, the margin here between 1 and 2 for me is just razor thin, and was something I agonized about for a long time here, but I think I've ultimately made the correct... I've made the decision that I think I most agree with here. But it is incredibly close between 1 and 2 for me. And my number 2 game of the year is Destiny 2. And it is Destiny 2 because as someone who loved Destiny, I love Destiny 1. And Destiny 2 in a lot of ways takes what I really liked about Destiny 1, streamlines it, and makes... And I mean, first of all, I'm playing it on PC, so the game is absolutely gorgeous. It runs incredibly smoothly. The core gameplay of it is just so much damn fun. Shoot guys, see numbers get up, get new loot, kind of build your character, spec into like a really great loadout. Explore really cool environments. I really like the lore of of Destiny. And just how just the kind of different experiences I can have with Destiny, where if it's a game that I even if I don't really have I've kind of done most of my weekly kind of objectives, it's something I'll still just maybe play and put a podcast on, just because I love the core gameplay of it is just so much fun. And even if I'm not really aiming for any of my major objectives, I just love that core loop of it so much that it's really attractive to play, even if I don't have any real goals to shoot for. But so it's fun to play casually. But doing I joined a clan earlier this year and did the raid, and I don't know if it was generally people said it wasn't one of the best Destiny raids compared to some of the ones in Destiny 1, but I just had an absolute blast doing it, and it was one of my favorite kind of gaming moments this year, even though I didn't really do it with the normal crew I play with. Just the scope of it, the challenge of working with other people, and it was just so satisfying to kind of have everything fall in the loop and complete the toughest challenge in that game. And so Destiny, I love Destiny 2 because there's so many different ways that I can approach that for enjoyment, whether it's just casual hangout or if it's, serious try hard, Mike. Like, the core gameplay of it is just so much fun that I've just been, ever since that game came out, it's really actually been a problem with the Game of the Year stuff, just because I just don't want to play anything else. Like, I'm like, yeah, I could play through the end of Mario and Rabbids, or I could maybe look into this other Switch game, like Golf Story or something. But then that means I can't play Destiny 2, and it's just, the core gameplay is just so addicting and so much fun that I just have not been able to put it down since I got it. So that is why it's my number 2.
Yeah, so I did not want to mention this in my honorable mentions because I didn't want to let it tip that I did not put it in my top 5, but I did not put Destiny 2 in my top 5. That being said, I have played a lot of Destiny, and I do legitimately love that game. I have a lot of fun playing that game. I have pretty much forsaken all other games since I purchased Destiny 2. It is a highly addictive game. It is a beautiful game. It is a fun game. That is not to say it isn't without its flaws. There are some very glaring problems with Destiny 2, which is why it's not on the top 5 list. And the sad thing is, it could easily be on this list, if not number 1, if some of the changes that seem pretty basic and pretty.
There's some definite, I think,
pretty much no-brainers to solve.
Yeah.
Were to happen, like, this game could be so much. It could be so much more. It's a good game as it is, but it could be near perfection if they would just make 1 or 2 little tweaks to it.
Yeah, that's kind of like there are definitely some things that I think need some changes that need to get made to Destiny as far as the longevity and the end game. I mean, there's certainly very valid concerns about it, especially if you've been with a lot of the news about Destiny. But despite all those reasons are kind of why I didn't want to give it my top mark. But despite all of those concerns, just night in and night out, like, I have so much damn fun playing that game just because the core gameplay is so damn good. That I still, that's why I kept that at number 2, and I am still absolutely super duper excited till every week. I'm still excited to see what Xur sells. I'm excited for like what the reset is and what the Nightfall is, and I just love playing that game so much. It is so much fun. All right, well, that's kind of what I've got to say about Destiny. So, Josh, hit us with the number 1, baby.
The number 1 game of the year for me this 2017 is Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus.
Color me surprised.
Anybody who has been listening to me talk about anything since this game has released has probably had some good indication that this was going to be my game of the year, especially since I've said this game might potentially be in my top 5 games of all time. I will preface all of this with saying I know that there are some issues with this game. I know that there are some people who complain about the level design, complain about the difficulty, and those are complaints that, while some of them I recognize, others, maybe I'm just really good at video games. I did not feel like sorry, I couldn't help it. I thought you guys might just let me go, but I knew better.
No.
I didn't.
Maybe I'm just great.
That's
I don't know.
good. Maybe you just have better taste than we do.
Maybe you also just get good, is what Josh just said.
I'm dying over here, fam. Oh my god, we have a PBR here. Hashtag sponsored.
No, we're not. Stop saying.
Anyway, back to my get goodness. You know, I did not run into as many of the moments of getting wrecked over and over again. I had a couple, but I felt like I knew why it was happening, and I used the tools available to me. I didn't really feel like I got lost in the environments and the levels, so that's not a problem that I had. But just that story and that world is so well crafted, so unbelievably impactful, with the seriousness, with the humor, with the stark nature of war, with some of the things that happen around death and moving on and resistance and race and culture and America and everything around that game. The things that it talks to directly, the things that it alludes to, the things that happen in that story, which, and I'm trying not to be too specific to avoid spoilers. I think about that game all the time. It's a game I feel like I'm going to go back to, and I don't very often replay games that aren't named Super Metroid, but this is one that I feel like I'm going to go back to many times, that I'm going to sit down and play with my wife so she can see the game, she can experience the story, she can see the lessons and the things that they are talking about, both in your face brutally and through subtext, through small interactions, through the way that game tells story, both in big cutscenes and in little character interactions just passing in the environment and on the sub and everywhere. It's just I have not played a single player story driven game like this in a very long time, and I have never played one that has impacted me in such a way. And it is a very solid number one. There was very, very little contention for that spot for me for this year.
Beautiful. It's kind of funny because I feel like you could basically take what you just said, swap out a couple of names, and use the same argument for
your number one game of the year,
and describe my number one game. It's
Is it Nier Automata?
It is in fact Nier Automata.
How did I know?
And I
Again, not surprised.
and
I think Mike and I both just basically reverted to type for number one games of the year this year.
yes, I think we did. And I mean, just like Josh said for Wolfenstein, it's the way this game, like the world that this game creates through its music, it's just the environment, the characters in that game, how the things that game, like the ideas that are at work in this game, there's some pretty, like, it's like existentialism, the game, but how it translates that into the gameplay itself instead of just lecturing at you. And I mean, all this, like the side quests that just have little bits of story that are really impactful, some of the just truly heartbreaking decisions and encounters you're faced with in that game, and some of the lighthearted moments too are really joyous. Like it is man, like that game is it is really, I mean, kind of like Josh said, it's something I think I'm going to be revisiting. Like I kind of mentioned, implied a lot of it with our talk about the our best moments, but that ending and what it asks you to sacrifice is so profound and wonderful. And I've played games with better graphics. I've played games with better combat. I've played I've probably played games that might technically have might have better plot. But the way Nier Automata takes the ideas that it wants to convey to the player and the message, and how it just so perfectly crams that into every single thing you do, and it's just how that all comes together, and how the game is constantly shifting from, you think it's a third-person action game, but then all of a sudden it's a 2D action game. Now it's like a Castlevania. Now it's like a weird, like arcade style, like shoot 'em up kind of thing. Now it's a text adventure. Just how it is constantly changing what you're expecting from it, but in all in service to the story and the incredible message it portrays. I can remember most of the games I've played and tell you a bit about them, but and like I said before, I've played tighter action games than Nier Automata, and I've played games that are a lot prettier than Nier Automata, but I've never played anything like this. I don't think I ever will, and I don't think it's a game I'll ever forget. And as like a final note here, I think the message of Nier Automata kind of it's ultimately it's about creating meaning in a life that doesn't have any grand. It means the game is essentially about what do you do when you are presented with the undeniable fact that there's no grand meaning or picture for your life and existence. And different people are going to respond to that question very differently. And what that game ultimately says about that question, I think, is something that is profoundly inspiring and hopeful, and is just, I've never seen a game do anything like that before, and like I said, I don't think it's something I'll ever forget. So, like I said, it's probably not, it is just a really just incredible achievement in storytelling in a game, and that is why it's my game of the year.
Very good.
Boom.
I like it.
Beautiful.
Also, you're very dirty for not having.
Oh, come on. It's like number... I fixed the... I did some jiggering with the list. It's like 9 or 10. Don't worry. If that game played as good as Doom, we'd be really talking about something, but...
Oh my god.
I'm going to agree with Mike on this one.
Doom doesn't have 99% of the fucking story that...
more story isn't always good, Josh.
I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with you, Josh.
When the story's that fucking good.
I mean,
Doom
I
has a
played
really
some Doom 2016,
Doom
and
has
it's got a
Doom
damn
has a
good
great
story.
Ray,
I'm
you
not
shut
saying
your
Wolf-
filthy mouth
I'm not
until
saying
you play
Doom has a better
Wolfenstein
story
2, you asshole.
I'm not saying top 10 anime betrayal is here, folks.
Okay.
I'm not saying...
When we get off this call, Mike and I are going to run a Destiny 2 heroic raid, and you're going to start Wolfenstein 2. God damn it.
I'm not saying that Doom has a better story than
Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that Doom...
I said Doom has a really good story.
Doom does have a good story. It's just very... It knows to keep it stupid simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Well, Josh, now that we've kind of gone over our personal top 5s, we should begin negotiations to give out the not as good as Tap Tycoon Award. And based on, if we kind of stuck everything in our algorithms, I believe I had Breath of the Wild at number 4. What did you have Breath of the Wild at?
I had Breath of the Wild at number 2.
Well, I don't know a lot about math here, but as the game both of us played and both rated at 4 and 2, Mario Odyssey is kind of the outlier here, obviously, and that might change depending on your thoughts compared to Zelda as you play through that game more. But how do you feel about awarding the almost as the not as good as Tap Tycoon award, but still pretty good award to Breath of the Wild?
I would be pretty comfortable with awarding Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild the not as good as Tap Tycoon, but still pretty good award. With the caveat that we also then award it's basically a clicker, but not stop fooling yourself and just admit what you are award to Destiny 2. Excuse me.
I don't like this award anymore. I thought this was a good idea, but now this is actually a bad idea.
Mike's number 2 entry of there was an attempt.
I'm just gonna pull the giant bomb move here and say, if you guys don't think the not as good as Tap Tycoon is going to a game that isn't Nier Automata, we're gonna be here all night.
No, congratulations to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I think if we
not as good as Tap Tycoon,
but still pretty good. I think I think if you stick our lists in a meat grinder, that's Zelda is what comes out near the top.
Yeah.
But you know who with depending on your thoughts on Mario as you play through that, who knows, that might change because Mario's pretty damn good.
It's true. And it has the added if I do like Mario a lot, it has the added I haven't really liked it like 3D Mario ever. So
really,
I could really shoot.
That could be. Yeah, what I guess have you played you played Galaxy?
I played a bit of Galaxy, not enough to really have an opinion.
Yeah.
Which is probably
Galaxy's
my first
great.
mistake.
I know it's not like it's different from like the traditional 3D Marios, but did you ever play 3D World? Because that game is pretty good too.
No,
that might just
one,
be
right?
for the Wii U, actually, now that I think about it.
No, I did not play that
Nintendo, you need to re-release that game. That game is too good to just let die on the Wii U. Come on. You're re-releasing Bayonetta. Come on. Just do it. You're welcome.
one. Just do it.
Also, Smash
That's
Brothers,
really
please.
that's really more of a Platinum Games decision, not a Nintendo decision.
So I think
Right.
Smash is coming out on the Switch. So, well, I think that wraps up our games of the year for 2017. Sorry.
I got one category I wanted to add, and I made it up a while ago, and it's my game industry nod of "You did good, son." It's, as I just mentioned, Platinum Games. In 2016, I played, and I still have on my game shelf, probably one of the worst video games I have ever played in my life. And that was Platinum Games Star Fox Zero. And what made it the worst was a control scheme, and it was just a retelling of Star Fox 64. You had one job, apparently, and it was to make the
To remake Star Fox Adventures.
No, stop.
I want to go back to Dino Planet.
You're both horrible
Yes.
people.
The fear
Both of you are
test. Do
horrible.
the fear test again. It's very fun and not awful.
And honestly, that was like the third time Platinum had released like a really crappy game. There was a Legend of Korra game and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, and there was a question of like, does this studio know what it's doing anymore? How can the studio that created like Vanquish and Bayonetta just be like tripping so hard? What's going on, Hideki Kamiya? And I love Hideki Kamiya. If you have a Twitter and you love video games in the game industry, Hideki Kamiya has the most real talk Twitters you will ever read from a game developer ever. He just does not give a fuck, and I just respect the hell out of him for it. And then they release Mike's number one, Nier Automata, whatever. And I don't know what happened between Star Fox Zero and Nier, but it's hard to convince me that the same studio made these games. It really is. One is a dumpster fire on the Nintendo Wii U. This other one is just this wonderful piece of storytelling and gameplay and music and this questioning of the human experience. And that's why the Platinum Games, I see you. You get my nod. You guys are doing good. I don't know what you guys got to do for Bayonetta 3, but go ahead and do it up. I'll be right there to throw my money at it. Keep it up. You guys will continue to get my support money.
Word.
Yeah.
Well, I think that just about wraps it up here for our Game of the Year podcast. Like we said here at the top, we're going to be moving over some channels and stuff, so content might be a little spotty here for the next little bit, but we'll keep you posted, and when things are, where our pipeline is kind of back up and running, I'm sure you'll be well aware. So just keep eyes peeled out for that. And
you know where you can go, Mike, to make sure you are kept current on any changes that are happening here with Unscripted Gaming? Do you know where you can go for that?
I've tried nothing, and I'm all out of ideas. Josh, where do I go?
Let me tell you, you can follow us on Facebook at Unscripted Gaming. You can follow us at Twitter at unscript_gaming. You can get us on SoundCloud at Unscripted Gaming. No, Unscripted-Gaming. Oh, fuck, I can't remember. I haven't done this in a minute. Whatever. Go to Google Play Music. Go to Pocket Cast. Go to, what's that thing called that Apple users use? iTunes. Fuck iTunes. But if you use it, go get Unscripted Gaming in your ears. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. You'll be kept current of everything that's going on. And you will get all that information right to you as we go through some changes here. But I think from all of us here at Unscripted Gaming, thank you for listening in 2017. And we look forward to talking to you next year.
Absolutely.
Peace.
It's been a joy. Peace out.
Thank you, everybody.